Okay, we have some breaking news on one of the leading banks in this country. TD Bank says that its longtime CEO, Bharat Masrani, is going to be retiring in April of next year, April 2025. He has been a long-serving CEO, and a successor has been named. Raymond Chun, a longtime insider at the bank, is set to take over in that CEO role eventually. Now, let me go through some of the details of what's going to happen here. There is a timeline being set out here. Clearly, succession is something banks always talk about. For years now, actually, there's been a curiosity about what the succession story at TD would look like, in part because of Bharat Masrani's time at the bank and the logical course of switching to a new CEO. But of course, the other development with TD has been surrounded by turmoil. The company rocked by those sweeping money laundering investigations. They've put a price tag on what that ultimately will likely cost the bank. They had also called off that bid for First Horizon. And so a lot of people were wondering what direction they would go in. Now, in Ray Chun, you're talking about an individual who has been with TD, I believe, since the early 90s. And then last year, he took over their biggest revenue driver, the Canadian personal banking operation. So he will, as part of this transition, starting in November, he will take on a chief operating officer role to give him more responsibility across the bank. And then as part of the handover in April of next year, he will take on the president and CEO role. Now, the bank did talk a little bit about the money laundering issue in the statement. Masrani saying the anti-money laundering challenges we faced took place on my watch as CEO, and I take full responsibility. I want to bring Gavin Graham into the conversation. I have to say, Gavin, a lot of people were wondering about what this kind of announcement would look like and when it would come, just given the size and scale of the costs associated with this money laundering probe. What's your reaction to this news?
Well, I think Mr. Masrani said it happened on his watch and he took full responsibility, and that is an accurate statement. It is very difficult to see how, especially given how long-serving he had been and that there would be a natural transition anyway, that he would not have departed after you've taken a $2.6 billion loss for the anti-money laundering breaches. The bigger problem, I think, for TD is probably they may not be allowed to do anything in the States for the next few years until the authorities are convinced that everything has been cleaned up. So that obviously puts a major crimp in their preferred avenue of expansion. As you mentioned, they were trying to buy First Horizons in Tennessee, which would have been a very good fit. And that fell through because of this anti-money laundering breaches, which were very serious. And it is, one must say, surprising that a bank with a reputation for operational competence like TD was so badly caught out. As it is, as you say, there's an inside pick, unlike, interestingly, Bank of Nova Scotia, where they picked a non-banking person, even though he was a director, to come in to maybe change the bank's direction. Here it looks like more of the same. But the fact is it's probably not a surprise that Mr. Masrani is departing.
I guess with Ray Chun, who we will quickly see thrown into the spotlight here, the fact that you're taking someone who has most recently been charged with overseeing a lot of the Canadian operations, you made the point, we've heard this before, that TD, which has had that huge expansion in the U.S., to a certain extent, will likely have its hands tied in that market to a certain degree going forward. So what do you think about the messaging of taking someone who was already promoted to have a lot of responsibility in Canada? Hey, let's face it, Gavin, I was surprised myself to see as much Canadian activity as we've seen over the last couple of years. Royal buys HSBC's business, National buys Canadian Western Bank, Scotia gets a new CEO and says, I'm going to focus more on Canada. One could argue that means that TD actually has a lot of work to do here in a competitive home market.
Yes, and I was going to actually touch on, as you said, the fact that there's been such a lot of activity after almost 20 years of almost no activity at all, to have as many big deals as we've had. And of course, Laurentian put itself up for sale and nobody wanted it, which must be the ultimate snub. So you'd have to feel that again, Canada is an enormously profitable market because it's an oligopoly, and it really is a very attractive place to be. The US, as we've seen, although of course you've had Bank of Montreal and Royal Bank also expanding there too, but it's a lot more competitive, a lot more difficult, and therefore maybe it makes sense, especially as you probably won't be allowed to do anything major in the US in the next 2 or 3 years, to concentrate on the Canadian side of things for TD.
Okay, Chun is going to be joining the board of directors, which is going to get a little bit bigger. We only have about a minute left before we need to take a break, Gavin. But, you know, if the CEO is taking accountability here as well, is there going to need to be more commentary coming out of the boardroom as well for everything that has transpired? Or do you think Bay Street and Wall Street will look at this? I mean, look, TD already arguably pleased analysts by putting a price tag on the costs associated with this uncertainty. Now they've got a succession plan and a mea culpa from the CEO. Do you think that's enough to appease the investor base?
Well, it certainly leaves them in a much better space than they were even as recently as a month or two ago, when we didn't know the size of the total costs, and also there was still the uncertainty about Mr. Masrani's position. So yeah, it's obviously a better position. Nonetheless, it is a tremendous fall from grace, and I think TD is the second worst performing of the 6 big chartered banks, ahead of only Scotia over the last 5 years, which is a truly remarkable turnaround. There will probably need to be some more time spent before TD moves fully out of the penalty box.
All right.